come back to Paradise Country Club to speak to Gregg Tryhus and Katie Prendergast from the Arizona Alliance for Golf about the work that they've been doing to get the facts about water use and the economic benefits of golf to the local community, and also their role in helping to shape policy around golf. In 2022, a controversial newspaper article accused golf courses in Arizona of abusing their water allocation. The Arizona Alliance for Golf, which had recently been formed to respond to the state's drought contingency plan, immediately sprang into action to counter the article's factual inaccuracies. I asked the Alliance founder, developer and golf course owner Gregg Tryhus what happened.
I think the intent of the writer was based on fact that weren't accurate. And so he wanted to prove that golf was abusing water. The truth is, any golfer knows you don't want to play on a wet golf course, right? And golf water is super expensive, so we would never want to abuse water. In the mid-'80s, Governor Babbitt set a groundwater law in place for all of us to abide by, where we have probably the most sophisticated irrigation systems in the country, in the state of Arizona. And everybody, it's expensive, and everybody has to manage every drop of water. So when we get an article that says we're abusing water that's so far from the fact of how much time and energy we spend protecting the amount of water we use, we felt we had to respond.
Do you think that was part of a wider public perception? Do you think people thought more broadly that that golf was overusing water?
I still think they do, and I think it's our job at the Alliance and our mission of the Alliance to help people understand we use less than 2% of the water. They all think it's significantly more than that.
Data has played an important role in communicating facts about golf to the public and politicians. Two key statistics sit at the heart of the Alliance's message. Golf courses use only 2% of public water and in return deliver a $6 billion economic benefit.
If we don't get our facts right and get the public to understand our facts or the politicians to know our facts, then we're never going to be able to measure our share of cuts, our equitable participation in cuts by any means other than guessing. And so we have to prove what we deliver, we have to prove what we contribute, and from there we'll do our share. But at least they're making an educated guess about what to have us do.
So you've established the facts, you put that out into the public domain, but also the economic benefit of golf, and that's the other critical number that's been part of the campaign.
We are a $6 billion annual economic impact. We have 66,000 jobs. We drive hospitality, we drive food and beverage sales, we drive real estate property taxes, we drive residential absorption. So much of the fabric of Arizona was built around tourism and the golf industry, a big part of that. We have to make sure people understand our impact. 66,000 participants in the golf industry all starting to say the same thing is going to have a massive impact on the message as it gets delivered to the community. It's much easier than hoping you get the right article someday, and that's the impact that we're starting to have. It's starting to galvanize.
The Arizona Alliance for Golf was formed in 2020 when drought contingency plans posed a potential threat to golf businesses. Gregg realised clubs and courses needed to come together to engage with politicians. The Alliance hired PR and public policy professional Katie Prendergast to become its executive director. I asked Katie what the situation was and what needed to happen to bring people together.
The water crisis here in the Southwest, and particularly in Arizona, was so severe that the Arizona golf industry could no longer continue to operate as siloed entities. And so under the leadership of Gregg Tryhus, and frankly it took someone of Gregg's stature in the Arizona golf community to get everyone around the table in the same room, the amateur body, the professional body, superintendents, private industry, companies like Tryhus, our nonprofits, to say we all run the risk of being out of business if we are not united, cohesive, and coalesced voice. And so that really was a huge moment here in Arizona. That really was, I think the beginning of the Arizona Alliance for Golf in 2020 was all of the disparate voices in Arizona Golf coming together to be that united voice so that we could achieve regulatory outcomes that preserved our access to water. We could help to inform non-golfers about the extraordinary, property values, community values, social values that golf provides. We included the tourism sector here in Arizona, recognizing that, at least here in the state, golf really is the heartbeat of Arizona's tourism economy. So how can we bring all of these voices together, assemble a very diverse choir, if you will, so that we could then deploy those voices in areas where they can be really impactful and help us achieve beneficial water policy outcomes.
As access to water becomes increasingly politicised, I wondered how well golf was set to have a seat at the table with decision makers.
We are living in a political environment where you can no longer be on the sidelines and not engage. And so having worked for many years at the state legislature, the golf industry just didn't have that united presence and voice. And so through the work of the Alliance, sort of bringing that full weight of the industry to back up our superintendents who just really were doing such an extraordinary job down there on the industry's behalf. And then thinking about how do we talk to the 90% of Arizonans who don't play golf. So one of the first things we did was commission an economic impact analysis. That gave us great data, not just to share with regulators and policymakers, but to use as we started to craft these messages that we could then deliver to non-golfers so that they could start to understand, yes, golf is a very visible product and water user, but it's such a minimal water user. So how can we start to dispel some of the water misconceptions and then also provide people with just that foundational awareness around golf's place in their community. So it's a place where children come to learn valuable life skills. It's a habitat for hundreds of native plant and animal species. That has been a message that has really resonated with some of the more environmentally motivated members of the state legislature, members of city councils. So how can we deploy those messages? From an advocacy and communications perspective, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, there is a piece of the golf story that resonates.
Superintendents have played a central role in the Alliance's work, so much so they are now recognised as water conservation experts whose experience and scientific approach is sought after by policymakers and regulators.
We would not be where we are in Arizona with the Arizona Alliance for Golf were it not for our superintendents. They laid all of the groundwork. They have developed great relationships both with our water regulators, with city council members, legislators, and so we've really been able to capitalize on all of the great work that they've done. And I think our superintendents in Arizona, and I'm partial as an Arizonan, but I think they're the best in the world, and the expertise that they convey, the credibility that they have has just been, I think, enormously beneficial for us as sort of this entity stood up to do advocacy and communication because we have the best experts in the world that can talk about all of the efficiencies on Arizona golf courses. We took a city council member out to a golf course this time last year, last spring, and she is a non-golfer. She's an engineer by trade, but she's very passionate around water sustainability, environmental sustainability. She was blown away. She spent 2 hours with the superintendent, and he was able to show her his ability to control all 2,800 individual sprinkler heads on the course. We walked the course, she saw the weather stations, all of the different investments that courses have made, and the just inherent water expertise that that superintendent and his team have. So it was just an incredible illustration of how science-based and data-based golf course water use is, which I think if you're not a golfer, you just don't have that appreciation for how scientific this business is. So our superintendents have been great to bring in front of elected officials, regulators. They're just an incredible voice, and again, we just wouldn't be where we were without our superintendents.
The Arizona Alliance for Golf started as a bottom-up organisation, bringing local clubs, courses and stakeholders together when the industry came under threat from new water regulation. To conclude, I asked Gregg Tryhus what the Alliance had achieved and what advice he would give other regions facing similar situations.
I believe golf is a bottom-up sport. I don't believe it's a top-down business. And if we get the people at the local level and bottom up to try and all rally together to protect it, I think we have a much better chance of being successful, and I would suggest that to any place. It's super hard to try and go top-down through international or national golf associations and have a local impact. It takes a village, it takes a community. This isn't my project. This is everybody's project. We have gone from just a few people trying to push an idea to committees and participants and shared ownership of what I think will be success. And if you don't have shared ownership, it's never going to work.
It's been a fascinating couple of days here in Arizona speaking to the Arizona Alliance for Golf. One of the great challenges golf as an industry has, and golf courses around the world have, is explaining responsible use of water and explaining responsible management of landscapes. They've done that really, really well here. When they were challenged, when they were facing severe water restrictions, they were able to explain to the community that only 2% of public water is used on golf courses. They were able to get the facts out and take command of the debate around golf and sustainability. What they've also done very, very successfully is explain the economic benefits that golf brings. The fact that for Arizona as a state, $6 billion of economic benefit is generated through the golf industry. And it's a great example of how putting together a communication strategy and engaging with the community and also speaking directly to policymakers can really bring benefits and help dispel the myths that golf is bad for the environment and actually show what a good thing golf can be for the environment, for the people, and for the local economy as well.